To think I was the one who broke him. The one who helped him see he was better than how he was treated. To show him that not everyone he loves will leave suddenly. And that not everyone he loves will hurt him. The man who stood before me, holding me in his arms, was hurt. Hurt in so many ways I couldn't even imagine. He was abused by someone who he thought loved him. He lost the one person he loved most. And to top it all off, he was put into the stressful role as alpha because his father was alpha. For someone like me, who was just a single person, just someone who was quiet and more to myself, for me to help him in so many ways, made me happy. "What are you thinking?" he whispered, pressing his forehead into mine and closing his eyes, like he was trying to get to my thoughts. I closed my eyes and smiled. "Oh, nothing," I whispered back, snaking my hands from on his shoulders and his face. "Just thinking of you," I said and rubbed my thumbs against his cheek. "Oh, I'm nothing," he joked with a chuckle. I opened my eyes, pulling away, and lightly slapped his chest. "You're never nothing, especially to me," I told him and gave him a kiss. "I hope, Mel, I hope, baby girl." "Could you come here and help me?" my mother asked when I entered the kitchen to get water. "Sure," I said and walked up next to her by the stove. "What are you making?" I asked her, stirring whatever was in the pan. It was different types of vegetables and meat in the pan. Just rice and this mix of veggies and meat. "You just got to stir that for another minute or two until I can pour the rice into the cooker," she said as she got out a bag of rice given to us by the pack cook and poured some into a small pot. "How long will it be until dinner's ready?" I asked, as Mom took the spoon away from me and turned off the heat to the pan. "Probably 10 or so minutes." "Why do you ask?" she asked me. I shrugged. "Just a little hungry. That's all. No need to rush. Though," I said and gave her a peck on the cheek. "Hey, my beautiful ladies," my father said when he entered the kitchen. "Hi, Daddy." I smiled and hugged him. "Hey, sweetheart," he said and kissed the top of my head. "How was hunting?" I asked as he kissed my mom on the cheek too. "It was okay. Nothing too fantastic." He sighed and leaned up against the counter. "I met the new Alpha, though. The kid of Alpha Burn. Honey, what? What is his kid's name?" he asked Mom. She shrugged. "Alexander," I said as I filled a water glass and took a drink. "Yes, Alexander. He's an interesting character. Kind of stuck up and big-headed. But who wouldn't be with a mother like his?" Dad sighed again. "Don't know if he's really alpha material. Just because of what happened." "What happened?" I asked, taking another drink. Dad looked at Mom before looking at me. "Well, before the old Luna took a vacation, she used to abuse Alexander. Or Alpha Alexander, I should say. A lot of the adults in the pack know about it, but the old Alpha didn't want everyone to know his mate was an abuser when he found out about it. So he sent her away and just said she was going on a vacation." I scrunched my nose. "But Luna has been gone for the last 12 years. So it's been a long vacation," I said. Dad nodded. "They sent her to a human mental institution. The doctors there said she had something like paranoid schizophrenia." I nodded. I didn't know she was sent to a mental institution. I knew she wasn't right while she was here, but I just thought that she actually took a vacation or was exiled for something. I didn't know she had abused the new Alpha or was crazy. Mom handed us plates. "Here, eat your dinner. You must be starving since the both of you didn't eat lunch," she said as we started to eat. "This is good," Dad told her as he shoved half of it in his mouth in 10 seconds. He must have really been hungry. "So, what is the new Alpha like? Other than big-headed and stuck up?" I asked. Dad shrugged. He really didn't say much other than a few orders. But his attitude and how he held himself, he seemed stuck up. Know what I mean? He just seemed off. And not everyone seemed to like him. But you know, his dad died. His mom abused him until he was 12. And due to his father being Alpha, he didn't quite catch on until Alexander was, I believe, 9. was when the old alpha tried getting rid of the Luna. But she kept coming back and then abused Alexander more because she thought it was his fault. But then he was finally able to get the Luna to a mental hospital, but the old alpha knew by then. Alexander was too developed in pain and fear because of his mother, so it must have been hard on Alex when his dad died. I felt bad for Alexander. Or Alpha Alexander. I should call him. He did become Alpha a few weeks ago. But to have a mother who'd abuse you and your dad not noticing until 9 years later must have been horrible. And now he's alone running a pack. I sighed and set my plate down, still having half of the food on the plate. Are you okay? Sweetie, Mom asked as I started to walk out of the kitchen. Yeah. I'm fine. Just need some fresh air, I said with a smile and started for the front door. Why I got a wave of upset and anger over finding out that our alpha was abused. I wasn't sure. Anyone would feel sorry for him, would feel empathy and compassion for someone who lost one of the few that loved him and was abused for a long time. But not this much upsetting feeling. I opened the front door and the cool autumn wind hit my skin as the door closed behind me. The sun was setting and I liked watching it. Taking a deep breath, I started walking around the pack. Alexander had no use for eating dinner. He wasn't hungry and felt a little too lazy to actually try and make something to eat. So he just chose not to eat dinner and walked around the pack. He was trying to see if anyone needed help with something or just wanted to talk. But knowing people of this pack, they apparently didn't like him as much as they liked his father. This might be because of his mother or perhaps because he presented himself differently than his father did. He didn't know the reason. He had not been able to sleep for the last few weeks. Either. Ever since his dad died. He would get worse nightmares than he did when his father was still alive. Some were of random things that just seemed completely chaotic. And some were memories of what his mother did to him. For 12 years, she had harmed him. Every day. Any chance she got. She would strike him. Often for no reason whatsoever. She would call him names and slap him whenever his father wasn't around. A few times she pinned him down to his bed to the point where he couldn't get out from under her. And she would improperly touch him. In the end, after my dad got rid of her for good, I was abused in all of the ways imaginable by her. She mentally and emotionally abused me by calling me names and saying how worthless I was. She'd tell me I wasn't the son she wanted and that I just needed to die. She physically abused me by slapping me and pinching me. Hard enough to get her point across, but never enough to have the bruises to last long enough for my dad to notice before they healed. And she sexually abused me. By touching me down there and forcing me do her. She told me if I told her, I'd be the one gone and she'd play victim. But when I was 9, I finally told my dad, and he tried to do things to get her to stop. He'd take me almost everywhere with him when he found out just so she wouldn't be able to hurt me. He broke the mate connection with her after he found out and tried expelling her from the pack. But it didn't work so well. My mom had snuck back almost every night for 3 years after that and abused me more. And she told me if I screamed, or told that she had come back, she'd kill me and my dad right then and there. And I didn't want him to die. So I endured it for another 3 years until he found out and sent her to a mental institution where she's been kept for 12 years now. But the pain and anger was reliving in my head each minute. Whether I was asleep or awake. Some people would embrace sleep. It let them get away from pain. But for me, it wasn't getting away from pain. It was adding more, and it drove me to insanity almost. I was mad. Mad that I was treated that way for so long until I finally had the courage to speak up. Mad at me. Mad at my mom. My dad. And sometimes even mad at the world. And I let myself show the anger and pain. I looked up, wondering where I was going from being so lost in thought. I scanned my surroundings and my eyes stopped on one particular girl. She seemed quite a few years younger than me, but she was still the most beautiful girl that I've ever seen. She was sitting in the pack garden, but none of the flowers surrounding her seemed to compare to her beauty. My heart thudded. I wanted her. I wanted her to be mine. Melanie, I was sitting in the garden, lost in thought and staring at the flowers. What pulled me out of my thoughts was the eerie feeling of someone staring at me. So I looked around and locked eyes with who I assumed was Alpha Alexander. He looked exactly like the old Alpha, but had some hints of the old Luna in his face. I felt gravity try to pull me to him. I wanted him to hold me and touch me. But I stayed where I was, trying to fight the gravitational pull towards him. But he must have felt it too, because he started walking towards me. I stood up from the bench and stepped back a little, but he got to me and grabbed my hand. My breathing hitched as electricity burned through my arm. It went straight to my spine and turned to chills. "Hi," he spoke finally. I looked into his ocean green eyes and opened my mouth to say something, but the words didn't form. I was too lost in his eyes. "Who are you?" he asked, standing closer to me. I inhaled his scent. Dust and deodorant. His words were more hard than his soft hi. I'm Melanie, I whispered. He pulled my chin up to make me look him in the eye. "You're the Alpha," I said, lightly wrapping my hand around his that held my chin. He didn't say anything. I was afraid that he might hurt me. But I didn't know if he would or not. From what I've heard, he was stuck up and mean, because of all of what happened. So he was probably going to hurt me. Mine. He growled in my ear. That sent chills down my back, which made me moan a little. "You're my mate and future Luna," he told me. I blinked once before he pulled away just enough to force a kiss onto my lips. It was hard and forceful and not at all pleasant. But at the same time, it was pleasant. I wanted to kiss him. He pulled back. I pulled my hand away from his and stepped back. I should get home," I said, turning on my heel and walking away, but he cleared his throat, which made me stop and look back. He was about to say something but didn't. He finally opened his mouth again. "Come over sometime. Or we can meet here again." "Sometime," he said. I nodded. "Okay," I said, and started to walk away again. "Alexander, I shouldn't have been so forceful. I'm so stupid. This is what I get when I try to let myself love. Someone leaves or I get hurt." I sighed and just walked back to my house. Melanie woke up the next morning and stretched. She hadn't gotten much sleep because of what happened with the Alpha. She pondered what he said about how she was his mate and going to be the future Luna one day. She didn't think she wanted to be. But yet, at the same time, she did. Knock. Knock. Dad called as he opened her door. He told her she had to get up because apparently the Alpha was wanting the whole pack to be at his house by 9 a.m. And it was 8:45. Melanie sat up and asked, "Do I have to go slipping out of bed and going to her closet to grab sweatpants and a t-shirt?" Since she had taken a shower the night before. She was just going to change. Her dad shrugged, saying people who heard seemed to think the Alpha was pretty serious about it. So checking out what he had to say wouldn't hurt. Melanie sighed and ushered him out of her room. Okay, I'll be out in 10 minutes, she said, and closed her door to change and brush her hair. As she got out of her bedroom, her dad and mom were standing at the end of the hallway, talking. "What do you think he's going to say?" her mom asked her dad in a hushed tone. "Some people said he's found a mate. But it's just rumors, though," he responded. Her mother sighed, whispering, "Do you think it's true? I pity the poor girl who'd be mates with someone like him. Granted, it isn't his fault he ended up that way. But still." Melanie gulped, thinking to herself, "I'm the poor girl who ended up being mates with him." She walked up to them and asked, "Ready to go?" They nodded and they headed out the front door toward Alexander's house, which was only a 2-minute walk from their home. When they got there, Alexander was standing in front of the crowd on some sort of raised platform. The platform seemed to be 2 or 3 feet off the ground. However, from his height of 7'2", he really didn't need it. As he towered over everyone in the pack, everyone could see him without it. Melanie only stood at 5'4", so she was just about 2 feet shorter than him. "Glad to see all of you here," he said in more of a bitter tone than a welcoming tone. Everyone grumbled. Melanie heard one person ask why they were there at 9 in the morning. Alexander didn't acknowledge the grumbling or the questions. "This'll only take a minute," he said finally, after they all stopped. His eyes scanned over the crowd until his ocean green eyes met hers. and electricity ran through her. She couldn't take her eyes away or make herself look away. "I wanted to introduce you guys to someone," he said, forcing himself to look away from her for a moment to look over the crowd again. It looked like it took some energy to look away from her. "If you haven't heard, I have found a mate. Some of you may know her since this is a smaller pack, but some of you don't. I really didn't know her until yesterday, but I knew she was my mate." He looked back at Melanie. "Would you like to come up here?" "Melanie," he asked. Everyone turned to look at her. Her parents gaped at her as she slowly walked up to him, and he helped her up on the platform. That's probably why he's got the platform. Because I'm short, she thought to herself. Everyone's attention was on her, and she didn't really like it. "This is my mate and your new Luna," he announced. Melanie wrapped her arms around her waist and shifted uncomfortably under 100 pairs of eyes. They all just stared at her and didn't do anything. It was like they were all silently judging her. Or like she was a prize at an auction that nobody wanted but just liked to look at it. Alexander wrapped an arm around her, like he was trying to protect her from something. "That's all I would like to announce. Please respect her like you respected my father while he was alpha. I don't care if you all don't give me the same level of respect, but please respect your Luna. Thank you," he said. And everyone disbanded other than her parents who just stood there. Melanie wiggled out from his arm, hopped off the platform, and walked up to her parents. "You're the new Luna?" Mom asked. Melanie shrugged. "Yeah," she said quietly and looked down. "Well, that's something." "Exciting. Why didn't you tell us?" Mom asked, trying to fake enthusiasm. But Melanie could tell she had worry in her voice. "I didn't want to believe it. I didn't think I'd find a mate 2 weeks after my 18th birthday. I was still comprehending it myself," Melanie whispered, trying to give a small smile but failing. Alexander walked up to them. Towering over the three of them, her dad was 6'5". "You must be her parents," he said with a calm voice. He seemed more calm and relaxed than he was 2 minutes ago. "And you're Alpha Alexander." "I'm Brad," Dad said and extended his hand to him. Alexander took it and looked to her mom. "Marge," she hesitantly said, and did the same her dad did. And Alexander took her hand. "Nice to meet the both of you," Alexander said and looked down at Melanie. Melanie looked up at him, craning her neck to meet his face. "You're extremely tall," she blurted. "Melanie Grace," Mom hissed. "You don't say stuff like that to your alpha," she said. Alexander smiled. "It's okay. I get that a lot. My dad was tall and—" "Yeah," he said, and cleared his throat. Melanie felt like he was about to talk about his mother but stopped himself, thinking she wouldn't want to talk about her abuser if she had one. I was going to attempt to make breakfast. Would you care to join?" Alexander asked. Her mom and dad were hesitant. "We already ate food this morning before coming over." "Brad and I," Mom said. Alexander nodded, then looked at Melanie. "What about you?" he asked. She glanced at her parents, but they had blank expressions. "Sure. I'd love to," she responded and looked up at him. He gave a small smile. "Well, we'll be back at our home if you need anything," Dad said. Melanie looked back at her parents, and Mom mouthed a "be careful" to her before they headed off. Alexander and Melanie walked back to his house, which was bigger than hers. "What do you like to eat, pancakes, eggs?" he asked. I don't really eat breakfast if I can help it," Melanie said quietly. She thought that was probably why she was so skinny, as she rarely ever ate. "You never eat breakfast?" he asked. She shook her head no as they entered the home. She gaped as she looked around the living room. The walls were a gray color, and so were the couches. But it was big. There was a flat-screen TV embedded in a cabinet in the wall, and there were giant windows looking out to the woods next to the couch. It's too big for one person. The house. He said and motioned her to follow him into the kitchen. He seemed more calm than what others had said. He went into the fridge and pulled out a carton of eggs. He set them down and opened it to grab an egg. But the egg slipped out of his hand. Damn it. he growled when it broke on the ground. Melanie grabbed the paper towels and wet one. He seemed really upset he did that. Hey, don't get angry. It happens to the best of us, she said as she bent over and washed up the broken egg off the ground and threw the paper towel and egg away. You don't have to do that. Stop. Alexander growled at her while she was cleaning it up. She looked at him. What's got you in a sour mood? She asked. He sighed and just turned away from her as he tried again with the eggs. He finally got some eggs into the pan. Melanie sat up on the counter to watch him. He glanced at her. What? She asked. He shrugged and continued with the eggs. Nothing, he said. Alexander thought she was so beautiful and he felt so calm with her. But he worried about what if she left, or if he pushed her away or hurt her. He acknowledged she was his mate and he wouldn't allow anyone else to take her. But the thought of hurting her persisted. As he finished the eggs, he plated them and gave her a plate. Thanks, she mumbled as he handed her a fork and she started eating. He only made enough for her, so he put the pan in the sink and just leaned against the counter and watched her. She glanced up at him and shifted, like she was uncomfortable with him looking at her. Is there something on my face? She finally asked. She lifted her head and there was a small piece of egg. He chuckled and reached over and wiped it away. But he quickly retracted his hand and his smile faded. Are you okay? She asked and set her plate down. He nodded. I'm fine, he whispered. She hopped down from the counter. Alexander noted that Melanie was so short. She was probably 5'3" or 5'4", which made her 2 feet shorter than him because he was 7'2". He was the tallest in the pack. But she was cute. Are you sure you're okay? She asked. He nodded. I am fine. Just a lot on my mind, he said in a hoarse whisper. He did have a lot of things on his mind. Want to talk about it? She asked. He quickly shook his head no and started to walk into the living room. Alexander, she called after him. I said I'm fine, he yelled at her. She jumped back and looked away. He opened his mouth to apologize and tried walking up to her, but she whimpered and took a step back. I'll just go. I'm sorry, she whispered. Melanie, I'm sorry, he said, but she was already halfway to the door. Melanie, don't go, he pleaded. No. I see I've crossed the line. I'll go, she said and closed the door behind her. Melanie walked out the door and started back for her house until she heard footsteps following her. She turned her head to look and saw it was Alexander following her. What? She asked, stopping in her tracks when he got to her. I'm sorry for yelling. I didn't mean to, he told her and tried grabbing her hand, but she pulled away. Sure you didn't, she whispered and started to walk away again. Melanie, he called. She sighed and stopped again. I'm sorry. I really am, he said, getting in front of her. She looked up at him, craning her neck once again to meet his eyes, which were filled with sorrow. She looked away. Mel, he asked, wrapping his arms around her. I don't know, she said and wiggled out of his arms. I don't think. Maybe we shouldn't be mates. For your own sake, she thought to herself. She quickly shook the thought off, but acknowledged it was true. He seemed to have his guard up because of what happened to him. Maybe we shouldn't be mates. Is that what you're getting at? His voice was rough and raw, like he was getting angry. I won't let you go. You're my mate, and I refuse to let you leave me, he roared as he grabbed her shoulders and forced a kiss onto her lips. She tried forcing him away but couldn't because he was stronger than she was. Alex. Stop, she said, finally able to pull away from him and his grip. She scanned her eyes over his face. He looked angry, but pained. She wondered if he was angry at himself for doing that or angry at her for telling him no. What is the big deal? First you're calm and okay, then you're angry and trying to be forceful. I get you were abused, Alex. But did it leave such an affect on you that you're bipolar? She let the words slip out. She couldn't stop them. Once the last word slipped through her lips. She slapped her hand against her mouth to stop herself from saying any more. Plus, she was shocked. She actually said that, especially to her mate and Alpha. His jaw clenched. His beautiful eyes turned a shade darker. Alexander, I'm so sorry," was all she was able to get out before he shifted and started to run away. She took a step forward, about to go after him, but she knew she was the cause for him to run away. So maybe he'd be better off alone for a while. She decided to walk back to his house, open the door, and just hung out in the living room until he would come back. Alexander didn't know how far or how long he had run, but all his anger and adrenaline and energy was drained. And the sun was halfway to setting, so it must have been afternoon, close to evening. He stopped and laid down, not even having the energy to shift back to human form. He knew Melanie didn't mean to upset him, but she did. She hit a nerve and he got mad. He heard something crunch behind him and his ears perked up, and he turned his head to look who it was. "There you are," Mel's voice said as she walked up to him. "You didn't come back and it's almost 5, she said, and sat down next to him to start petting his fur. But he growled at her, as he didn't want to be touched right now. She pulled her hand back. "Okay then, Mr. Grumpy Pants," she said. He laid his head back down on his paws and looked up at her. "Yeah, I'm still here," she said. He lifted his head back up and nudged her side with his muzzle. "What are you doing?" she asked and tried to stop him. She started to giggle. "Stop. That tickles." She giggled more and continued to try and stop him. He accidentally pushed her onto her back, but she continued to laugh even after he stopped. She was amazingly beautiful. Her blue eyes shone like the sky. She was small, but that didn't matter. When he saw her in that garden yesterday, none of the flowers compared to her in his eyes. Being with her allowed him to forget. But the walls he had and the pain were still there. He couldn't stop getting angry at the littlest things. He shifted back and sat over her. She looked up at him. "I'm sorry I angered you, Alexander," she whispered. "I get it. You're hurting. I understand. Maybe I can help you," she offered. He chuckled. "It's fine. And you don't have to. It's my feelings. I should deal with them myself," he said and sat up to help her sit up. "I'm your mate, Mr. 1.18, Alpha. I'll help you," she told him. He sighed. "Okay. Little flower," he said. She smiled. "Okay. My king." He was guarded, cruel, and uptight. He was hurt, upset, and angry. He didn't let anyone break his walls because he was afraid. The underlying emotion under all of that crazy whirlwind of emotions inside him was fear. Fear of falling. Fear of being hurt again. Fear that everyone he loved would leave. But that didn't stop me from trying to help this king mend his heart and break those walls of his. But after almost 2.5 months of trying, he still seemed a little shaky on breaking those walls, on letting himself love and let his guard down just for a moment. He was always possessive of me and protective. Though, he wouldn't allow other guys to talk to me unless they were my dad or the guy had a mate. And he didn't like most of my outfits that I wore that were too revealing. So if I was wearing a shirt that was a little tight or showing more of my top or tummy, he'd throw one of his shirts at me to wear. Or if he saw me in too tight pants, he'd get upset and tell me to either change or make me wear his sweats. "Alex, honey, come on." He wasn't staring at me. I rolled my eyes when he pulled me into him as a guy looked me up and down while him and I were sitting in the pack garden, eating lunch. He was staring at you like he wanted you. "You're mine and that's that," Alex growled in my ear. I sighed. "Of course I'm yours, but you haven't marked me yet, and I don't exactly smell like you, so he wouldn't know." I told Alex. He pouted at me. "Put that lip back in. Alexander, you're not for," I told him, lightly tapping his mouth. The guy who was looking at me walked up to us. "Hey there, cutie." He winked at me. "Say, how about we ditch the Alf here and you and I go get drinks," he suggested. But before I knew it, Alex blocked me from the guy and growled, his eyes growing dark. I could tell his wolf was about to come out, so I set my hand on his shoulder. "Don't talk to my mate unless I say you can," Alex yelled in his face. The guy tesked, "I can talk to whomever I want. I don't need your permission. And I don't see no mark on her." The guy said. There was a loud breaking noise. In half a second, Alex had the guy pinned and he was breaking his wrist. "Alexander," I yelled, standing over him. Alex looked up at me, his now dark green eyes slowly going back to the normal ocean green. "Shoo." I huffed and pushed him off the guy and helping him up. "Get a hold of your guard dog." The guy spat. "Just go to the pack doctor. I bet she'll help you," I muttered when he left. "You shouldn't have stopped me." Alex growled in my ear. "You shouldn't have done it in the first place," I said. "I didn't like how he wanted you. I didn't like how you broke his wrist." Well, what if another woman looked at me like that and asked me out? I wouldn't try to rip her to shreds. Like hell, of course you would. "I'm not like you, I'm not cruel and mean and try to get their way just because they're alpha," I yelled. This was the most yelling I'd had done in all of my 18 years of living. I didn't like to yell. "Oh, I'm mean." "Am I?" "Yes." "You are," I mumbled. He growled in my face, his eyes growing back to the dark green. I could tell his wolf was threatening to come out. "You watch your mouth," he hissed. I looked away from him, but he forcefully grabbed my jaw to look at him. I gripped his wrist and tried prying my face away. He was hurting me, and his grip was positioned to where it was just cutting off my airway. Alex. Ow. Can't breathe. I gasped, trying to get air. He let go instantly, tears rolling down his cheeks. "Don't give me that. I swear." "Alexander." I gasped for air. "I care for you. But you can't do that and expect if you act victim by crying. You'll get pity." I said. My wolf wanted to give him pity. He's been hurt and she wanted to just be there for him. But he got violent with me. His wolf got violent. But I loved him. Since I first laid my eyes on him. I knew I did. Whether it was me or my wolf. I didn't know. But I just wanted to be there for Alex and help him through this. But not if he was going to almost kill me. Mel. Babe. He started, but I cowered away from him. Don't hurt me," I begged. I could feel sadness and guilt radiate off of him. But that wasn't going to stop me from not wanting to be touched by him. "I'm sorry. Melanie, look at me," he pleaded. I looked up. "I'm sorry. My wolf got jealous." "I got jealous. I didn't want to lose you to him. I took it out on you. I'm so sorry. Baby, please," he said, trying to reach out to me. I let him hold me. "Don't ever do that again," I said slowly, making sure he caught every word. "Don't touch me the wrong way, or I'll get my daddy," I threatened. He nodded. "Promise." "I promise. Let the moon goddess strike me down now if I'm lying," he told me, even though I knew it was an expression. I jumped back, thinking maybe she would strike him down. But nothing. No striking from her. At least not for today. Be lucky. "Mr. Alexander," I told him, pointing a finger at him and walking back to his house. I got violent. I let my wolf's anger get the best of me and I took it out on her. Goddess. I'm such a bad mate. I didn't go back home until way into the night. I tried busying myself with things I needed to get done so she didn't have to see me. By the time I was finished, I missed dinner and most likely telling Mel goodnight. Because when I checked my clock in my office in the pack house, it was 3:30 in the morning. She rarely stayed up past 9. I walked out of my office and out of the pack house to get back home. But I noticed the living room light was on. I opened the door and looked in and saw a crying Mel sitting on the couch. "Melanie?" I asked, slowly walking into the house and closing the door behind me. She snapped her head up to look at me. "Are you all right?" I was cut off by her letting out a sob and she ran up to me. You had me so worried I didn't know where you went, she cried into my chest. I held her as she cried. I couldn't mind link you. You blocked me off. You blocked everyone off. I was so scared. Alex, don't do that, she cried more. In packs. Everyone's able to call to each other through mind links. But I had cut off everyone in the pack so I could get work done. She pulled away and slapped my chest. Don't dare scare me like that again, she yelled at me. I sighed. I just didn't think you wanted to see me after what happened. So I got myself caught up in busy work. I'm sorry, I whispered. Melanie sniffled and tried to rub the tears from her eyes and cheeks, but they kept coming. Oh, Mel, I whispered and tried to gently grab her face to wipe her tears away, but she pulled back. I made you dinner. Thinking you'd be back before now, if you want to eat. I'm going to bed, she said in a harsh tone and walked into our bedroom. I walked into the kitchen and saw a note on the microwave. I walked up to the microwave and pulled the sticky note off. Just press start. It should start and heat up for 2 minutes. It's soup. I pressed start. And just like the sticky note said, it started to heat up for 2 minutes. It gave me time to think. Nights like these, which was every night. I let my thoughts get to me. I would stay up well into the night just thinking about all the times I was hurt, all the times I hurt others. The beeping of the microwave startled me. I opened it and took the hot bowl out of it and grabbed a spoon to down half of the bowl before deciding I didn't want any more and just set the rest into the fridge. I looked up at the clock in the kitchen and it was 5:30 a.m., deciding it wasn't worth going to bed. I walked into the living room and started to watch TV. I couldn't sleep. Not without him here. But before meeting him, I was able to sleep by myself. I have been since I was 3. But after meeting him, nights dragged by when he didn't come home or stayed up late. It messed my sleep schedule up, but I needed him. I was kind of afraid of the dark, so I had a small nightlight at home. But I don't here. I laid in bed for 2 hours. I checked the nightstand and the clock read 6:15 a.m. It wasn't worth trying to sleep. Not after a night of waking up during sleep and getting upset that he wasn't home. I slipped out of the bed and out of the bedroom. Alex was in the living room, dead asleep on the couch with the TV on. I slipped in next to him and cuddled against his side as he snored away. I reached over for the remote and clicked the TV off. What time is it? Alex asked sleepily. Like 6:20. Now shh. I'm trying to sleep, I said and curled up into a ball next to him and instantly fell asleep. I groaned when I woke up. A smell hit my nose and it was an amazing smell. Alex, I mumbled. Reaching out on the couch I was laying on. But he wasn't there. And I was covered in a blanket and a pillow was under my head. Alex, I called a little louder, sitting up and rubbing the sleep from my eyes. In the kitchen, he called. I stood up and walked to the kitchen where he was. There stood Alex, standing over the stove. What are you making? I asked, leaning against the door frame. He looked over at me before looking back at the food. Bacon and eggs, he said as he set some bacon on a plate and went to the fridge to grab eggs. I walked over to him. Need any help? I asked, grabbing a piece of bacon that seemed a little burnt. No, I'm fine. Thank you, though, he said, leaning over and kissing my forehead. I bit into the bacon and looked at the pan. He was trying to make scrambled eggs. I sighed and tried to help him because he wasn't doing it right, but he pouted and lightly pushed me away. I got this. Mel, he said, pulling his focus back to the eggs. I sigh. Okay, I said, and stole another piece of bacon and walked back into the living room. 10 minutes later, Alex brought me a plate of food. The eggs seemed a little runny but looked 95% cooked. Or I hoped. Thanks. I whispered and took the plate from him and started to eat. He sat down next to me and he wasn't eating. Are you okay? I asked him. He nodded. I set the plate down and crawled over to him and sat in his lap. Tell me, why aren't you eating? I asked him. He shrugged. I sighed and grabbed his face. He raised an eyebrow at me. I leaned in and gently kissed him. He inhaled sharply and wrapped his arms around me. He passionately kissed me back. Eventually, It became heated, and he flipped me on my back and straddled me, not breaking the kiss. His lips detached from mine and kissed down my neck. Alex. I let out a sound of pleasure. When he found my soft spot, he nibbled and kissed there, but after a few seconds, he pulled away from me and looked away from me. Alex, I asked, sitting up. I can't. My wolf wants it, he whispered. I reached over and touched his arm. He looked over, and his eyes were black. When someone's wolf was trying to take over, their eyes changed to a darker color or black. With Alex, whenever he got mad, his eyes darkened to a dark green. That would be his wolf's anger. But now it seems like his wolf is trying to take over, and his eyes would change to black. I crawled back on his lap and moved my hair to one side. Go ahead, I whispered. Alex looked up at me, his eyes still the obsidian color. I can't. Not unless. I shushed him. I'm ready. I told him, and I felt my eyes change, and my wolf tried coming through. My eyes would change a red color whenever she tried taking over, because that was my wolf's fur color. He grabbed me and brought his lips to my neck. But after a second, he pulled away. I'm not, he whispered, forcing his wolf back, and his eyes went back to normal. I pushed my wolf back, and my eyes changed to their regular color. I ran my hands through his hair and pressed my forehead against his. I knew he wasn't ready. Neither was I. But I thought if I pretended I was, it'd allow him to trust me and let me break his walls. But it didn't work. Okay, I whispered back and set my head in the crook of his neck. His arms still were wrapped around me, and he held me close. It was a nice feeling, to be held by him. After a few minutes, I pulled back. Tears streamed down his face. Hey, I cooed, wiping his tears away. He nuzzled his face into one of my hands. Why haven't you left me yet? He asked. I sighed. Because I know there's a good person in you. I know it, I whispered. He gave me a small smile, but it was forced. Seemed like anything positive he tried to do was forced. But at least he was trying. I planted my lips on his. He gripped my hair and lightly pulled, earning him a sound of pleasure. He licked my lips, like he was asking for entrance. I parted my lips and his tongue pushed through. I let him dominate my tongue with his. It felt nice. Him massaging it. I pulled back and wrapped my arms around his neck. I'm sorry. He whispered and set me on the couch and got up to walk away. Alex, I asked. He turned to look at me and sighed before leaving out the door. I spent 2 hours trying to find Alex, but I couldn't find his scent, nor I couldn't mind link him. Packs are usually able to mind link each other, whether mates or not, but I think he might have cut everyone off from mind linking him. I was freaking out because it was starting to get dark and I still couldn't find him. I ran to my parent house and opened the door. Mom, Dad, have you seen Alex? Alex was sitting on the couch with my dad, talking to him. I cried and threw myself in his arms. I hate you, I whispered into his chest. Why? Alex asked, trying to act clueless. You know why? I mumbled. He held me in his arms as him and my dad continued to talk about whatever they were talking about. But I didn't really pay attention to the conversation. I don't know why I was so up in arms about him leaving. He was mean to me and cruel. But yet he was trying, and I could tell he was slowly trusting me and letting me love him. Mel, hey. We're home, Alex's voice said. I groaned, opening my eyes. Weren't we just at my parents' house? I asked, rubbing my eyes. Yay. But you fell asleep. So, I brought you back here. He took me to the bedroom and set me on the bed. Why were you there to begin with? I asked him as I looked up to him. He shrugged. I originally left because I needed to think. But then I bumped into your dad and he asked how you were. Then we went over to your parents' house and gave me food. He stripped from his clothing and laid next to me. The last 2 or 3 nights, he didn't dare lay next to me. He would sleep on the couch in the room. Much less, whenever he did lay with me, just in his boxers. He turned on his side, his back facing me. I slid over and kissed between his shoulder blades. What are you doing? He asked, gently rolling his shoulders back. like he was telling me to stop. I didn't respond and kissed up his left shoulder blade, running my hands up his back and sides. I leaned up and kissed the top of his shoulder. "What are you doing?" he asked again, turning his head to look at me. "Nothing," I whispered and cuddled into his back. He turned onto his back and looked up at me. But in an instant, I was pushed back onto the bed, him hovering over me. In the dim lighting, I barely saw his eyes change, but I knew they did. Not to the dark green they usually did whenever him and his wolf got angry, but to black. His wolf was trying to taking over. "Alex," I asked in a shaky whisper. He growled at me. I yelped and tried to push him off me. "Alex, get off," I said, with a little more confidence. "No," he roared in my face. I tried pushing him off again, but he was too big. Too strong. "You don't tell me what to do. I'm the alpha," he yelled, and forced my head to the side. I screamed as loud as I could. My brain had a million thoughts so mind-linking someone wouldn't help. They'd just get all of my thoughts instead of what I wanted. Needed to tell them. But before anything came, the weight lifted off me and off the bed. I took deep, shaky breaths before sitting up. Alex's wolf stood in the middle of the room. "Alex, Alex, look at me," I said, crawling off the bed and towards him. His head snapped to me and he growled. His eyes were still black. He still didn't have control of his wolf. "Shh, it's okay," I whispered, crawling towards him. "It's okay. You know me. You know I won't hurt you," I said, reaching out, but his muzzle snapped toward my hand, but I was fast enough for him not to bite me. "Alex, listen to me. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want you hurt. Just please. I know you're probably mad. You're probably scared. But I need you to control yourself. Your wolf." He just looked at me, growling lowly. Then I heard Alex's voice in my head. "I can't control it. He doesn't want you. He wants your wolf." I take a deep breath. I doubt I could trick Alex's wolf into letting down if it was me controlling my shifting and wolf. But I couldn't let my wolf in control. Not now. I sigh, knowing it was probably the only thing, and let my wolf take control. My eyes changed to the red color and I let my wolf take over. It was a weird feeling. To let her out. I was usually in control of her. But if I had to do it to get Alex back, then I had to. Alex's wolf stopped growling and whimpered before walking up and rubbing his muzzle against my wolf's. She licked his face and whimpered too. He laid down and my wolf cuddled up against him and just laid there for several hours until both Alex and I were finally able to control them. I looked up at Alex, but he wasn't looking at me. "Alex," I asked, reaching out to him, but he jerked under my touch and shook his head. "Don't," he said, his voice raw. I retracted my hand. Just go," he mumbled under his breath. Barely audible. He turned his head slightly. "Didn't you hear me go?" he yelled. I stumbled back from him and fell on my butt. "Why are you being like this?" I yelled back. "Why now, when you were finally opening up to me?" He turned his head back. Not answering. Different emotions boiled in me. Anger. Sadness. Fear. "Alexander, why?" I asked. "I'm a monster. Melanie. And someone like you shouldn't be with me," he whispered. I sighed and got to my knees. "I don't care. Just please," I whispered. He shook his head. "I have to. I'm not going to let you be with me," he told me. He sat there, looking back at me, then opened his mouth. "Don't say it. First you were all about me being your mate, and now you're closing me off," I told him. He closed his mouth and just stared at me. "You listen to me. I'm not giving up that easily. I'm not allowing you to close me off. Suck it up." I growled at him and crawled closer to him. "I'm not going to be a small, little, helpless girl anymore, and I'm taking control," I said, and got so close to him that our faces were inches apart. Okay. The next couple of days, Alex hadn't gone to the pack house to do work. I asked him why, but he wouldn't answer the question. Just beat around the bush. And he's been very dodgy. Avoiding my eyes and all. But I ended up not questioning it. You coming to bed? I asked Alex as I passed by him. He was sitting on the couch. Watching TV. No. I think I'm going to stay up a little longer. He said. I sighed. It's late. Alex. And you've got to go back to work tomorrow. Come on. Please come to bed with me. I told him sternly, reaching for the remote and turned the TV off. He looked up at me. I said in a little bit, I'll be fine. I've gotten little sleep before working. Before. You're not my mother. Alex growled, taking back the remote and turning the TV on. Alexander, it's almost midnight. Come on. You need to sleep. I growled back. He groaned and turned the TV off. Fine, he yelled and stomped into the bedroom. I followed. What's gotten into you? I'm just looking after you, I asked, closing the bedroom door behind me. He didn't answer and just stripped before getting into bed. Alex, you've been so distant from me. Why are you? I asked, sitting next to him on the bed. He continued to ignore me. I groaned and got off the bed. Fine. Don't talk to me. I'll sleep in the living room. I snapped and started to walk out of the bedroom. Get in bed, Alex said lazily. I turned my head to look over my shoulder but looked away. You don't want to talk to me. So why should I asked. The bed creaked and footsteps came towards me. Because I want you in bed. He told me before setting his hands on my waist and pulled me into him. No, you don't. I spat. You've barely been talking to me. So why do you want me to sleep with you if you haven't been talking to me? I heard him sigh as he fully wrapped his arms around me. Because I love you, and I want to cuddle. He said and tried pulling me to the bed, but I stopped him. Hey, come on. You wanted me to sleep. And I'm trying. But you're not coming to bed, he said as I turned to face him. Is something wrong? You've been acting different. Like at first you seemed like you wanted me here and now you don't. You know, you can tell me. He shrugged. It's nothing, really, he whispered. I knew it wasn't just nothing. It's your dad's birthday tomorrow. Isn't it? I asked. I forgot his dad's birthday was at the end of April. But his dad had passed away, so anything to do with his dad was a tough subject. He hesitated but nodded. Yeah, it is, he told me. I grabbed his hand. I'm sorry. He forced a laugh. It's fine. It's just been tough since he died. He sighed and went back to bed. Alex. You know you can talk to me if you need to get stuff off your chest. I'm your mate and I care about you, I said, walking over to him and sitting in lap. I know. But it's hard. Hard to keep all my thoughts and emotions together long enough to talk about them. I kissed his cheek and cuddled into his chest. I'm sorry, I whispered. He shrugged. It's okay, I guess. We sat like this until I started to fall asleep. I rubbed my eyes, trying to rid the feeling of sleep because I knew Alex was still up. But I couldn't resist its dark lullaby and drifted to sleep. Alexander, I didn't fall asleep that night. I wasn't able with all the thoughts running through my head. The fact my dad's birthday was the following day. The fact I had a mate that was mated to some horrible monster like me. And all I felt was pain, anger, and fear. So after Melanie fell asleep in my arms, I set her on the bed and dressed before walking out to the pack house so I could get a head start on the work and calls I had to do that I pushed off for almost a week. Alpha. Is it safe to keep the girl in your house alone? I knew that voice. It was an old friend of mine before my dad died and I turned mean. I stopped in my tracks and turned around. Never thought I'd see you again. Max, I said. Max smiled at me. Nice to see you too. Alf. Mr. Tough Guy, he said and walked up to me. We hadn't hung out in so long. Probably because of that little mate of yours, Max said. I shrugged. I just thought we hadn't hung out because I became Alpha. I shrugged again as we started to walk to the pack house. He shrugged as well. It wasn't that. I just thought you wouldn't want me around because of all the freaking pain you've been through. I thought you just needed time alone for a while. Then you made that announcement back in February saying you had a mate, and I thought, heck, if he wanted to keep his mate, why wouldn't to see his best friend? But then, after that I hadn't seen much of you. So I kept my distance. I chuckled. I may be a jerk. Max. But of course I'd want to see you. You've been a childhood friend, I said as we got to the pack house. By the way, why'd you ask if it was safe to keep Mel in my house alone? I questioned. Max seemed to shift under my gaze and avoid my eyes. Max, I asked. A little harsher. I heard rumors. I heard rumors about your mom breaking out of that. You know. He told me. I tensed but shook my head. No, she hasn't. If she hasn't gotten out in 12 years, then she wouldn't have gotten out now. I almost hissed. I tried to tell myself that she hasn't because it's been 12 years since she was put in a mental hospital. But maybe she has. I think Mel will be Alex, where are you? Melanie mind-linked me and I could tell she was terrified. I sighed and opened the door to the pack house and Max followed me. I'm at the pack house. I couldn't sleep, so I thought I would get work done and let you sleep. I mind-linked back. I'm scared. I thought I heard something, but you aren't here. She mind-linked. I said, hey. Max, could you go get Mel for me? Please, she's mind-linking me saying she's scared. I asked. He nodded. Sure. He said and left to go get her. I sighed. My friend Max is coming to get you. You can stay here and sleep while I work. Tell him to hurry, I'm really scared. I sigh and get to work. I don't live very far from here, so I knew they'd be here any minute. Melanie, I was sleeping well until I heard something crash in the next room. At first I thought it was Alex, but I didn't recognize the scent. It wasn't Alex. It might have just been an animal, but it didn't smell like one. The front door creaked open and I jumped and hid under the blanket. Hello, Melanie, I'm Max. Alex's friend. Are you okay? A male's voice asked, and footsteps came down the hall and into the room. Melanie, hey. It's okay. I peered out of the blanket. Hi. I'm Max. Alexander told me you were scared and asked for me to get you. He told me and gave a small smile. I won't hurt you. I swear. I slowly got out of from under the covers and walked over to him. Yeah. Come on. Let's go to the pack house, he said and led me out of the house and towards the pack house. I almost had the girl. Almost hurt the girl who took away my power. I had crawled in through a window and accidentally broke something. She woke up and I couldn't try and hurt her with being awake, and if she lived, she'd be able to tell that idiotic alpha who I was. I will get her. I slipped out the way I came and trotted back in wolf form back to my hideout I've been at for a couple weeks now. Max brought Melanie over, and she refused to sleep unless I either held her or laid on the couch in my office with her until she fell asleep, since I didn't have time to lay down with her, trying to calm her down until she fell asleep. I just let her sleep in my lap. Before she fell asleep, she tried telling me that she thought someone was trying to break into the house. I told her I'd have people check it out, but I tried to reassure her that it was probably just a raccoon or a squirrel that had gotten through an open window and accidentally knocked something over. I was typing on my computer when there was a knock on the door and the head of the pack troop, Isabel, walked in. Isabel was a close friend of mine as kids, but we drifted apart because I was being trained for being alpha and due to the things happening with my mother and her dad training her to be the head of the troop. Sup. Alfie. We searched your house. It seemed like your window in the guest bedroom was broken from the outside and someone or something crawled in. We don't know yet what it was or who it was. I nodded and shifted under Mel, who was still dead to the world. Thank you. I said this with no emotion behind my voice and started typing away. Who's the kid? Isabel asked. I looked down at Mel and then back up at my screen. She's my mate, I said simply. Isabel hummed. Okay. Alf. Well, I'll let you get back to it, she said and then left. I sighed and got back to my work. Melanie moaned slightly and shifted in my lap. I looked back down at her and her eyes were opening. Hey. Sleep well, I ask as I kiss her forehead. She just hummed and cuddled more into me. I slept fine. She yawned and just fell back asleep. I chuckled and pushed some of her hair out of her face. I sigh, leaning back in my chair. I don't know why I just don't reject Melanie now. She's an amazing girl. And she tries. But I'm not. On the inside, I'm broken and hurting. I'm a monster she doesn't deserve to be with. She deserves more than someone like me. But yet, here we are, about a month and a half into being mates. I've tried letting her in, letting her help me with my pain. But it's been hard. Through the abuse and my dad. I nearly jumped and didn't realize Melanie was staring at me. Oh. Hi. I thought you fell back asleep, I said. She yawned. I was. But you think too loud, she said. I gave her a confused look. You accidentally mind-linked me. I heard your thoughts. She whispered and took my face in her hands. I'm sorry, Alex. She choked before tears ran down her face. You didn't deserve any of that. I'm sorry. You've been hurt in so many ways. In ways I could never understand. But I want you to know I'm here for you. I love you. More than she did. I sniffled and held Melanie against my chest. She set her head on my shoulder and hiccuped against me. Mel. I whispered, trying to calm her down. You've been through so much. I didn't know. She cried. I sighed and rubbed her back. It's fine. You don't have to worry, I told her. She pulled back and looked me in the eye. I want you to promise me something. I nodded. Okay, what's that? I asked. She wiped away her remaining tears before speaking again. I want you to promise me that you won't keep yourself hidden with me. If you're hurting, please tell me. I don't want you to hide it. I know it's eating you up and I hate I can't help you. I nodded. Okay. Mel. I promise, I told her. She sniffled again and set her head back down on my shoulder. Get back to work. She told me. I chuckled. Yes. Ma'am. I teased and scooted forward in my chair and started working again. Alex, I giggled when he picked me up and spun me around. I laughed and reached out for him. He stopped and hugged me. He still had me in his arms. Letting my feet dangle. He finally set me down and I looked up at him. He had a smile on his face that showed no sign of pain or strain. It was a pure, genuine smile that could brighten a room. Yes. My little flower, he asked, and bent down to give me a kiss. I hummed against his lips and pulled away. I love you. I sighed happily and hugged his waist. He wrapped his arms around me. I love you. Too. Flower. This was amazing. I sensed he wasn't in pain anymore. He let it go. He was free and I was happy for him. I woke up from the nice dream and noticed it was dark in the room. I wasn't sure which room I was in. All I know was it was dark, and a body was next to me. My eyes adjusted to see a bare chest in front of me and I picked up on light snoring. It was Alex. I looked up and saw he was dead asleep. I stretched and slowly sat up, not trying to wake him up, and I looked over at the digital clock and it read 10:50 p.m. Had I really slept all day, I thought to myself. My stomach interrupted my thoughts, which made me realize that I was asleep the whole day and hadn't had anything to eat. I decided to get up and walk out of the bedroom, down the hall, and through the living room before reaching the kitchen. I checked the fridge for food, and there was fruit, so I decided to grab a banana and close the fridge door before peeling it to open it. Halfway through my banana, I heard the floorboard creak behind me. I turned to look, but nothing was there. I said and finished my banana. I threw away the peel and headed back to the bedroom when the floorboard creaked again. I stopped in my tracks. That's when I sensed something wrong. There was someone here that wasn't supposed to be. I turned, but I couldn't see anyone. Show yourself, I said, trying to be confident, but it came out as barely a whisper. I know you're not my mate. Who are you? I growled. That's when an arm wrapped around my waist and a hand covered my mouth. I thrashed against the person and screamed, but it was muffled in their hand. Shh. Don't want to wake up your mate. Do you? A female voice whispered in my ear. I growled and bit her hand. She grunted and moved her hand. That's the point. Alex, I screamed. Footsteps came thumping down the hallway, and the female let me go and disappeared. Lights flickered on, and I turned in a complete circle, but no signs of the female being there other than the front door being open. I breathed heavy. "Are you okay?" Alex asked, setting a hand on my shoulder. "Were you sleepwalking?" he asked, removing his hand from my shoulder and moved to close the door. "No. I woke up because I was hungry. I came out and ate, and some lady tried to kidnap me. I don't know who she was, but she tried taking me. Don't give me that look," I cried. Alex was giving me a doubtful look. "I'm not crazy," I cried more. He sighed and walked up to me to pick me up. "I'm not saying you are." "Mel, but you just woke up before coming out here. Maybe you just thought it." "You don't believe me?" I asked, looking up at him as we entered the bedroom. "You didn't smell a different scent, sense someone before they left?" I interrogated. He shook his head. "No, I didn't. And I'm not saying I don't believe you. I'm just saying it's a possibility you just imagined it. Mel, but if it makes you feel better, then maybe I can have some of the pack warriors patrol the rest of the night." His eyes glazed over, but as soon as they did, they turned back to normal. Usually, whenever you're trying to mind link someone, your eyes glaze over. It's common throughout all werewolves. "There. And I'm going to be right here for you if something happens again." "Okay," he asked, and we both laid down in bed. "I'm not tired," I said and adjusted so my back was against him. He sighed. "Okay. Well, here. You can watch TV in here while I sleep. Here's the remote," he said and handed me a slim, small remote. "Just press the button at the bottom and the cabinet should open, and you can use that blue button on top to turn the TV on." I sat up, pressing my back against the headboard, and pressed the green button on bottom, and I heard sliding. I looked up and saw the cabinet that was right across from the edge of the bed opened, revealing a flat screen. I pressed the blue button and the TV clicked on and was on some random show. I clicked through until I came up to some cartoon. Setting the remote down, I shifted. I couldn't get the feeling of that woman being here out of my head. I wasn't crazy. I knew what happened. But Alex didn't believe me. He wanted to. I saw it in his eyes. But I knew he didn't. I had a sense of someone watching me, and my immediate reaction was to look down at Alex, but he was dead asleep. I looked up at the door, but it was closed. So obviously no one could have been watching me through that way. I turned my head towards the small window in our room. The blinds were halfway up, halfway down. But I noticed a silhouette of someone. My breathing stopped altogether. "Alex," I whispered and reached out to him, not breaking eye contact on the silhouette. He moaned and lifted his head up. I felt his body tense under my hand I didn't remove. "Oh my," he whispered before the silhouette disappeared from the window. I looked over at him, a terrified look written all over my face. "Believe me now?" I asked, in a squeaky whisper. He nodded. "I do." He told me it wouldn't have been one of the warriors. They wouldn't dare do that. And at this hour, those who were already patrolling are the only ones up. "I guarantee it," he whispered. "Usually between 10 p.m. and 12 a.m., all of our pack would be asleep. It was rare for someone here to be awake unless they went out into the city about 20 minutes south of our pack location for a night out. But they weren't stupid enough to stand at the window of the Alpha's bedroom unless it was an urgent matter. Alex was usually easygoing about people needing help if they came banging on the window, asking for help. It happened once or twice when we first became mates, and a few of the pack warriors needed to get him up for help. But it hadn't happened in a long time. And this silhouette was just standing there, like there was no urgency. I gulped and shivered in fear. "Hey," Alex whispered. "I promise whoever it was won't get you. I will keep you safe. I swear." He told me and sat up as well, taking me into his arms and held me. I didn't watch TV or fall back asleep that night. And neither did Alex. He just held me as I cried in fear. I almost had her last night, but she just had to bite me and scream for that idiot Alpha. I had to leave because he was coming. It was early morning and I was hiding out in the bushes while the pack warriors walked around the perimeter. I growled more to myself than anyone in particular. I will have that girl. If it is the last thing I do, She will die. I sighed and ran my hands through my hair. I had finally got Melanie to take a nap around 5 inches the morning. I wasn't able to fall asleep because of seeing that silhouette outside the window of the bedroom. I wasn't sure who it was, but the conversation I had with Max a few nights ago about my mom possibly breaking out of the mental hospital. As much as I didn't want to believe him, the more I was starting to, maybe he was right. But I couldn't think about that now. It was 2 inches the afternoon when Melanie finally woke up and she walked into the kitchen where I was making soup. Hey. Sleep well, I asked. She nodded. Yeah. She mumbled and came to stand next to me. I looked over and saw she had one of my sweatshirts on. It was gigantic on her and it went down a little ways past her knees and she didn't have pants on. That's a little big for you. Isn't it? I asked. She shrugged. Whatever. She turned and walked away. Did you sleep? She asked me from the living room. No. I didn't, I said, putting a lid on the pot and walked out to the living room. Why didn't you? She asked me as I sat down next to her on the couch. Because I wasn't tired. Is that a problem? I asked in a harsh tone I didn't mean to use. She winced away from me. I'm sorry, she whispered. I sighed and tried to reach out to her, but she jerked away. No, she said and scooted away from me. I groaned. Whatever. I'm going to check the soup. I sighed and stood up. You want any? I asked and headed for the kitchen door. No. I don't want to eat, she whispered. I see, Head. I made it for you. Though. What am I supposed to do with it now? I growled and looked over my shoulder at her. I don't know. Eat it, she suggested, but didn't look at me. I sighed again and walked to the stove and turned it off. I grabbed the lid to take it off when I heard something in the living room break. Mel, babe, I called and moved the pot off the burner. Alex. I ran out of the kitchen to the living room and looked around. My heart stopped when I didn't see her on the couch. Melanie, I called and searched the whole house, but she wasn't here. No. No. She can't be gone. Where is she? I growled and ran back into the living room. The world spun around me and pain coursed through my veins. When I thought I was getting better, when I thought I had someone in my life. I looked up and through the spinning, I saw a person. Mel, I asked, reaching out. No. It's not. It's Isabel. Mel got kidnapped. I tried getting her, but I wasn't fast enough. We have warriors chasing after her and her kidnapper. Isabel grabbed me and led me to the couch. I was still spinning. I lost her. She won't answer our mind links. Even her parents tried. She seems too scared that she probably accidentally cut off her connection. I shook my head. It's my fault. I wasn't paying attention. There was someone here last night. I set my head in my hands. I yelled. Alex. It's not your fault, but I need to tell you something, Isabel said, grabbing my wrists and knelt down in front of me. Alex. It was your mother. She took Melanie. My world was black. I remember arguing with Alex, but I was with him. I was with my mate, but I cried for him. Being taken from him and then everything went black. I don't know where I am. Am I dying? Did I pass out? Then light. Laughing. Where am I? I opened my eyes slowly. I was chained to a wall and on a cold, concrete floor. Oh. You're up. Great. A female's voice called. I recognized that voice. I looked up and saw a middle-aged woman standing in front of me. Finally, after almost 2 months of trying to get you, I finally have you. She slowly walked up to me. She was dirty and stunk a little, like she was outside for several months without a shower. But behind the dirt and the stink, she looked a lot like someone. No. I whispered and tried to scoot away from her, but she just kept walking closer. You're supposed to be locked up. How'd you get out? I asked in a quiet voice. Alex's mother smiled at me with a wicked smirk. I just did what I had to do. Rip everyone to shreds. I've been out for a few weeks now. A little bit before my stupid son became stupid Alpha and made you his stupid mate and made you Luna and took away my power. I am supposed to be running the pack, but I was sent away because he lied and said I abused him. But I didn't. I whimpered. I'll believe Alex before I'll ever believe a crazy woman like you, I yelled, but right after the last word left my mouth. A loud clap and a piercing pain coursed through my cheek. I squeaked in pain and teared up. Watch your mouth when you're talking to your Luna, she yelled. I am the Luna, I yelled back. You've been kicked out over 12 years ago and sent to a mental hospital. You abused Alex in so many ways for 12 years before that, and you made him feel worthless. You're no Luna. She growled at me and shifted to Wolf. You don't scare me. I whispered and tried shifting, but when the chains touched my Wolf, she whimpered and I shifted back. Alex's mother growled at me but changed back. Keep in mind who's over who. Little girl, I know that horrible, worthless thing of a son is going to try and get. And when he comes, I'll kill him and you and gain my rightful power back. Don't dare, I yelled. Hearing her talk about Alex like that made me angry. Don't dare, what she teased. He is worthless. He's been worthless his whole life. He doesn't love you. Do you think he really does? He's just playing you. He's too far broken for him to actually care for some little girl like you's feelings. He is pitiful. Like you. I screamed and thrashed, the chains pulling and tightening around my arms and legs. Stop talking about my mate that way, you. You. Wretched thing, I yelled. She laughed in my face and got closer. I will talk about him as I want. He's my son. She chuckled. I growled and spit in her eye. She growled and kicked me in the stomach. I gasped in pain and hunched over. You're lucky I don't kill you now. You wretched thing. She stomped out of the room and locked the door. Looking up, I broke down. Tears streamed down my face and I couldn't breathe. Partly from the pain she left and partly from wanting to be home. To be with my family and friends. To be with Alex. Mel. Baby. I stopped my crying. It was Alex's voice, but he wasn't here. I gasped. Mind link. Alex, help. Melanie. I'm trying. I've been trying for a week now. A week, I thought. Have you been knocked out all this time? I think so. But that doesn't matter. Alex, please help me. I'm scared. I know. I'm sorry. Melanie, it's all my fault. No, it's not. Alex, just please get me home. I miss you. I've missed you. Too. Melanie, I'm so close to getting you back. I'm sorry. 4. I was pushing you away. I was afraid of loving. Because my dad dying and my mom hurting me. But when I get you back, I promise I'll try harder. We can be together again. Melanie. I started to cry again. I wanted to be home so bad. I wanted to be with my parents and Alex, and everything be okay. But I know that won't happen. I wanted so much to be with him, but I knew it wasn't going to be. Alex. Yes. Mel. I'm here. I'm trying to find you. Can I ask for one more promise? Anything. Don't find me. What? Forget about me. Move on with your life. Melanie. I'm not going to let you go. Your mom is planning to lure you here and kill the both of us. She wants to be the head of our pack again. That's not going to make me stop looking for you. I might not make it. Better you stay living than me. If I don't say that. Of course you will. Alex, stay away. I don't care if I live and never come home or die. I just want you safe. You have to move on. I'm going to find you, and that's that. Melanie. No. Alex, stay home. Mel. I love you. Alexander. More than you will ever know. Just know you're strong and not worthless. And with that, I cut my mind link. Not just to him, but to everyone. And I felt nothing. 2 weeks. 2 weeks passed and I still couldn't find Melanie. I was a mess, and my office showed it. Papers thrown everywhere. Almost anything I could pick up and chuck. Which was mostly everything. Lay in ruins all over the floor. I hadn't dared go back home. It reminded me too much of her. I hadn't dared do much other than tracking and trying to find her. I spent every waking moment on trying to find my mate. I hadn't talked. 8. or shaved. My mental state wasn't doing so well either. I was having delusions and hallucinations, thinking Melanie was standing next to me the whole time and she was fine. But when I stepped in the direction of my hallucination of her, she'd disappear. "We'll find her. I promise," Isabel would tell me. But once a day ended, her words of encouragement and hope fell into meaningless lies. Her words were empty to me. "I'm so close. Mel, I'm so close," I whispered, blankly staring at a map we drew of the surrounding area that we searched but with no luck. "Just please be alive when I find you." In these last 2 weeks, I couldn't mind link her, and that didn't sit with me well. Not able to talk to her, not being able to have the knowledge of her being dead or alive. It was eating away at me, bit by bit until I turned into a decayed corpse. "Hey, Alf, I brought you food. Please eat it. This time." Max's voice called from the door of my office. I shook my head, still staring at the map. "I have to find her." "Max, I won't do anything until I do," I growled. He sighed and slid a bowl in my line of sight. "She'd want you to eat. Alex, you are 7 foot and you were 315 pounds. Now you're what, 250, 260. That's a dramatic weight drop in 2 weeks. That's 60 plus pounds. Dude, don't stress yourself out. I'm just as worried as you are, but at least I'm eating." I sighed, slowly reaching for the bowl and pulled off the lid. There was spaghetti in it and a piece of garlic bread. "I know how much you used to like spaghetti. I thought it would help keep you sane for a while. I hate seeing you like this. Here's a fork," he said and slid a fork next to the bowl. I sat down, grabbing the fork and poked the spaghetti. "I know you heard this hundreds of times, but I know we'll find her. And it wasn't your fault." My eyes darted up to him, but I said nothing. "I know. I miss her too. Alex, I haven't talked to her much, but I know how much she means to you. And we all miss her. She's part of our pack, our family. You know, every night since her kidnapping. Everyone's been outside awaiting their Luna's return. And just like if on cue, multiple howls sounded outside. Pained, strained howls, as if someone died or calling to a loved one. It's happened every night at midnight. On the dot. It was like they were trying to call out to Melanie, hoping she'd follow their unanswered calls and find her way back home. But it didn't work that way. But I hoped that one day it could. That she'll be okay and in my arms again, where I won't allow her to be taken away from me again. I basically threw the fork down on the desk and set my head in my hands. How could I let this happen? Max, how could... Why have I let so much time pass? She should be home. Safe. I don't care if I'm dead, but she deserves to live and at least be here with the pack and her parents. I cried. "Hey," he said and walked up to me, setting his hand on my shoulder. "I'm going to make you a promise, and I won't give up until I fulfill this promise. I am going to be here with you until we find Melanie. I will fight hand and foot until I see that pretty little Luna of yours here back and safe with you, or I will die trying. I promise you that." I looked back up at him, tears streaming down my face. "I mean it," he told me and patted my shoulder. Isabel entered and paused. "Whoa! Did a tornado hit?" she asked, taking in her surroundings. "Yeah, a 7 foot 2 inch one," Max responded, removing his hand from my shoulder. "Well then, anyways, Alex, I think we've got a lead. One of the warriors said he found the Luna's scent. But when they followed it, it seemed to end at what seemed like an abandoned building, but there were multiple rogues for him to fight alone. But you found her," I said, standing up so fast that I nearly pushed over my chair. She nodded. "I think we did." I sat in a corner of the room. I was kept in for who knows how long. Probably for another week or so. I was starved, barely hydrated, and hadn't had a bath since I got here. Every time I tried to escape, I was beaten by Alex's mother or by some guard. Some days, I wished Alex did save me, but I knew if he came to save me, he could die, and I didn't want him to die. I was too weak to mind link anyone or answer any mind link. mainly because I had to conserve as much energy I needed to block everyone. I didn't need anyone to know how much pain I was in. I was mainly beaten through these past couple days. I was bruised, red, and I think at least a few bones were broken. I see you're up. Little pest. Alex's mom hummed as she walked into the room. I didn't respond and just looked away. Have nothing to say, no good morning, no hi, she hummed again. Walking closer to me. Just kill me already, I mumbled. Her footsteps stopped, but I didn't want to look up at her. That would be too easy. Your little mate would know you had died and wouldn't come looking for you anymore. And he'd still be alpha. So no. And plus, it's much more fun beating you. I looked up at her, my vision blurring from tears. Any mention of Alex was painful, and I hated it. Aw, little pup is crying. She purred. I pulled against the chains and growled. She scacked but turned on her heel and started to head for the door that led into the room I was being held in. What is it like? I asked. She stopped, turning slightly to look at me. What? She questioned. I just looked at her for a moment. To be so mean, so lost inside your mind, what is it like? To know you're the sole purpose your own son feels so worthless, for 12 years. You broke him down, hurt him, behind closed doors, behind his father, and now you took me. I knew he loved me and he was trying to get over the pain you caused him. And now, he's probably sitting in a corner, wanting to die. Because of you, you should be taking care of those you love, of your family. You should. Veronica, a small but powerful-looking girl at the door, asked. Alex's mom, who I now knew was Veronica, looked over at the girl. What? She spat. The girl jerked away slightly. He's here. Your son. That's when I picked up on his scent. Alex. Oh no, I thought to myself. Veronica hummed happily. He finally came. Took him almost 3 weeks to do it. She almost growled. I tried pulling on the chains again and tried to break free. But as always, I failed. Don't hurt him, I cried, looking up at her. Please. Do anything you want to me, but just don't do anything to him. I'll do anything, I yelled after Veronica, who wasn't listening to me and was just walking away. She walked through the doorway and closed the door. No, I cried. A few days ago, Isabel had said we had a lead on finding Melanie. I wanted to leave right then and there, wanting to hurry as fast as I could to get her. But she had a point of needing to train our warriors more. And now, I was able to get her, be able to get my mate back, but to see my mother again, my abuser. After 12 years, I wasn't sure I could do it. I wasn't sure if I could face her again. But to see Melanie again, to see her smile and hear her laugh, that was my fuel to get her. It took us most of the day to get to where Isabel and the pack warriors thought my mother was holding Melanie. We had left at about 7 inches the morning and got there at about 3 or 4 p.m. It was a run-down-looking hut. It seemed to be mainly made out of stone and wood, the wood slowly rotting away from the environment and possible termite infestations. The roof seemed a little caved in, but half of it was made of stone, so it was still somehow holding up. Hey, Alex, how are we going to get past the rogues Mac's mind linked to me? Everyone was in wolf form, but I knew he was the one standing to my right. I turned my head to look at his all-white wolf. I went over this with Isabel. The warriors are going to distract the rogues long enough for you. Isabel. 2 warriors. And I to sneak in. If there's anyone inside. Isabel and the 2 warriors are going to hold them long enough for the 2 of us to find Mel and get her back. I mind-linked back. Max dipped his head. So when are we going to do some action just then? A howl came in front of us. We all looked forward from our hiding spot and all the rogues outside were staring right at us. Now. Apparently. I howled and everyone around me started to run towards the rogues, instantly attacking them. Come on while we have a chance. I mind-linked both Max and Isabel and ran around the group of attacking wolves, hopefully being followed by the 4 who were coming with me. Once I got through the front door of the hut, I changed back to human form and started running down the hallway, passing multiple open or broken doors, knowing none of them contained the person I most wanted. I halted to a stop and stared at the one person I thought I'd never see again. My mother stood less than 6 feet in front of me, arms crossed over her chest. Smirking, she looked disheveled, crazy, but yet had some sort of composure. I was terrified, but I held a confident face. "You know what I want. Give her back," I growled weakly. Her laugh sent chills through my body, bringing back horrible memories of her laughing, screaming at me while she beat me. "Alex," a voice screamed behind me. But I didn't react fast enough until I felt someone push me over and tear into me. I howled and swatted at the being. But just like that, the being was thrown off me. I gasped for air, everything around me blurring. Hey, I'm right here." Isabel's voice came, but I didn't see her. Couldn't focus. "You're bleeding. But luckily for you, I will be able to stop it. But I'm going to have the 2 warriors guard you while I go find Melanie." Isabel's calm voice told me. "You're going to be okay. I promise. Max." I breathed. "Where's Max?" I asked. I blinked a few times, able to see Isabel's figure turn for half a second, then back to me. He's a little busy right now, but he'll be fine." A whimper. Someone whimpered. "Max, no." Isabel screamed and got up to apparently go aid him. I took a deep breath. What I assumed bandages restricting my big breath. "Max, no." I screamed when Alex's mother practically bit into his shoulder and throwing him against the wall like a rag doll. I was already finished with Alex and ran up to Max. He was already back in human form. His shoulder was severely bitten into, and blood was rushing out. "No," I cried, looking for anything to stop it long enough for it to heal. "Don't." Max groaned. When I decided to rip my shirt and wrap it around his shoulder. "I won't let you die." "Max," I said, tears blurring my vision. He groaned in pain, but I just ignored it. His blood, which stained the wooden floorboard under him, stopped pouring out of his shoulder. He looked up at me and gave me a small smile. "Has anyone ever told you you're really pretty?" he asked. I chuckled but shook my head. "This isn't the time, Max," I told him. He gave a hoarse laugh. "I know, but I just wanted you to know." He told me. He moved but hissed in pain. "Don't move. Let it heal," I whispered and looked up at Alex's mom. I saw out of the corner of my eye Alex trying to sit up, and his mom, who was still in wolf form, was growling at him. "Don't do this," I yelled at her. As she turned her attention to me, both the pack warriors that came with us jumped on her and pinned her down. As she turned back to human form, her eyes darted back and forth, her mouth in a snarl. She was officially crazy. "Where's Melanie?" I asked. She growled at me, not responding to my question. I got up from Max, slowly walking to Alex's mom. The floorboards creaked and groaned under my weight. She just stared up at me, but then her eyes darted to a closed door. I ran up to it and tried opening it, but it was unmoving. "Locked. Screw it," I mumbled, so I stepped back, the floorboards ever creaking and crying out, and I ran into the door, throwing all my weight into it, and it swung open. I looked around and spotted a small set, broken Melanie. I had only saw her once, and that was when she was with Alex and sleeping in his lap. But from what I saw of her, she looked better than she does now. She had dark, deep bruises under her eyes, her arms, wrists and ankles red and raw from the chains, and her left shoulder seemed dislocated, but all in one piece and alive. "Melanie." I called out to her. She looked up at me. "Who are you? Are you here to hurt me?" she asked, her voice also raw. I shook my head. "No. I belong to the same pack as you. I'm Isabel, the pack army's leader," I said as I ran up to her and tried freeing her from the chains. It was upsetting to see her so small. Such a lot of weight loss. But I was able to help her wiggle out her hands and feet out of the chains without having to find a worldwide hunt for the keys. "Think you can walk?" I asked. She shook her head no. I can't. She broke my knee a few days ago. It hasn't healed, she told me, pointing out her right knee. It was swollen, red, and severely bruised. It was probably the size of a cantaloupe. That is broken. We'll have to get the pack doctor to look at it. Good thing he's my daddy, I said and lifted her up with ease. But she cried out, I'm sorry. I know, but we gotta get you. Alex. And Max back to the pack location as soon as possible. They're both bleeding out, I said, all in a rush, and carried her out of the room to see the two warriors still holding down Alex's mom. Max was able to sit himself against the wall and Alex had passed out, but still breathing. Alex, Melanie screamed, trying to wiggle out of my arms, but I held her tight against me, forcing her to stop. He'll be fine. Just, please worry about the matter at hand. What do you want to do with his mom? I asked her. Alex can't make a decision right now, and since you're Luna, you have the right to make one. She looked over my shoulder at her. I turned my head over my other shoulder and saw that she had accepted her fate and stopped trying to get out of their grip. Kill her, Melanie said. Make her feel the pain both me and my mate had. Torture her like she did us. That's when the warriors attacked, ripping Alex's mother to shreds. Her screams, loud and shrilled, eventually came to a stop. Get Alex. You two, hurry and take him to the pack location so my dad can help him. Max, think you can walk? I asked him. He nodded and was able to use his good arm to push himself up. Yeah, I'll be fine. He mumbled and walked up to Melanie and I. Good, I said. Melanie looked between us. What? I asked, looking down at her. Oh, come on, she said with an exaggerated sigh as the warriors moved around us to get Alex and take him out of the hut. What? Max asked with a chuckle. Don't you two? Idiots. See it? She asked as we followed the warriors. I shook my head no. She groaned. Well, it's obvious. It's written all over your idiot faces. Yeller mates, she said. Max chuckled. Well, little Miss Good Girl actually has a bad side. Calling us idiots, Max said. Well, you are. You can't see it that you two are mates. I may be younger, but I still see it. I sighed and smiled. Whatever. Mel, let's just get you home. Everything around me was black. I couldn't tell where it ended, and I began. But all I know was that I was no longer in pain. But then everything came crashing around me. Bright lights. Pain. Beeping surrounded my body like if you were surrounded by the ocean. Hey there. Big guy. Took you long enough to wake up. A female voice called above me. I shielded my eyes and looked around. I'm right here. Silly, the same voice said, and a hand waved in front of my face. I looked around the hand and it was Isabel. Isabel, I asked. She smiled and put her hand down. Yeah, she responded, taking a seat next to me. Where am I? Where's Mel? What happened? I asked. Adrenaline coursed through me and I bolted upright, but pain went through my stomach. Hey. Hey. Don't push yourself. Alex. I'm fine. I'm right here, Melanie's voice said on the other side of me. I looked over, seeing my beautiful mate sitting in a chair with crutches leaning against the arm of the chair and her leg in a cast. I sighed and reached out for her and she grabbed my hand. Hey. Alex, she whispered to me. How are you? She asked. I nodded. I feel okay. What about you? I asked. Chuckling. She played with my hand. I'll be fine. I didn't. And good thing you hadn't. I was so worried. I nodded. I was so worried. Too. I thought I would never find you. Come here, I said all in one breath. She smiled and got from her seat and hobbled over 3 steps and sat next to me. What happened to your leg? I asked her, bringing her into me. She shrugged and cuddled into my chest. Your mom broke my knee. Stomped on it pretty hard. Don't worry. I made a decision to kill her. She won't hurt you anymore, she told me and touched my cheek. I was more worried about her coming back to hurt you. I said honestly. She chuckled. I love you. She whispered and kissed my cheek. I smiled. It wasn't a forced smile. It felt like a genuine smile. All my pain, physical and emotional, melted away. I love you. Too. Melanie. More than you'll ever know. I told her, grabbing her face and kissing her. Her hands found a way to my hair and pulled me into her. Okay. Lovebirds. You both need rest. Isabel told us as we parted. Melanie sighed and got up. Sad to say, it is like 3 inches the morning, she said and reached for her crutches. I'm gonna go back to our house to sleep. If you need anything, just mind link me. Love you. She told me before giving me a small kiss and starting to move towards the door, and so did Isabel. Night, Alex. They told me in unison. I sighed and smiled. Night. I whispered and got comfortable before falling asleep. I'm scared. I'm not sure what will happen to me when I go under. What if my body reacts negative to whatever medical concoction they make and I die? What would you do if I died? Alex, Melanie asked when we were sitting in a hospital room and she was laying in the hospital bed. It had been a month and a half when we finally had gotten back home from her being kidnapped by my crazy mother, and she broke Melanie's knee. By now, Melanie's knee should have been healed. Granted, we are werewolves, and she should have started physical therapy. But it wasn't healing properly, and so we had to come to a human hospital who knew more about broken bones not healing properly, and they told us we had to have surgery on it because her kneecap was shattered, and that's why her knee wasn't healing as fast as it should be. And luckily, this human hospital was able to tend to werewolves. You won't, Dee. I promise. I sighed in frustration, half from waiting so long for the doctor, and half from already having this conversation with her 5 times. This is one of the best hospitals that we can go to that treats werewolves. And the closest since our pack doctor didn't know what else he could do. Melanie groaned in frustration. But I might. I don't trust humans with my body, she told me and ruffled with her hospital gown. Hello, I questioned. She looked at me. What? She asked. You're pretty much a human with powers. My friend. She pouted at me and fake cried. I'm just a friend to you, she asked. I chuckled. No. Of course you're not just a friend, I told her, reaching out to grab her hand. She let me grab it, and I ran my thumb across the back of her hand. You'll be okay, baby. I promise. The doctor came in with a clipboard. Okay. Melanie Bernard, 18 years of age. Werewolf. Broken knee that hadn't properly healed. Yeah, he asked. Melanie nodded. Well, I examined your x-rays and it seems like we will have to put an implant in. It'll be aluminum, so it shouldn't be able to hurt you in any way. If after the recovery period, you're still having issues or pain in your knee, make sure you talk to your pack doctor or come back here to see if it's the material the implant is made of, or if your body is just getting used to it. Melanie sighed. There's no need to be worried. Love. Okay, I'll be here when you come out, I tell her. She gave me a worried smile. Okay, she whispered as the doctor and nurses prepped her for surgery. 3 hours later, I woke up feeling all drugged and sluggish. Alex, I mumbled, reaching up to cover my face from the blinding light. I'm here. Don't worry, his voice said, in a sleepy tone. You got out of surgery about an hour ago but didn't wake up. How are you feeling? He asked me. I groaned. Drugged. I heard him chuckle. Okay, sweetie. Just continue to rest. He told me as I fell back asleep. 7 months later. Eliach, Alex. Have you seen our son come through here? I ask. Walking into Alex's office in search of our 4-month-old child. You lost our son. How could you do that? Alex asked in an aggravated tone. During my operation almost a year ago, Alex and I had found out I was about a month pregnant with a child. It only took about 4 months for him to be ready to come out, which meant I gave birth to him 3 months after surgery. Alex and I decided to name him Elijah Alexander. Well, when you have a werewolf child who is big enough to wander off by himself because we grow insanely fast in the first year of our lives, and you're not paying attention because you're trying to make him breakfast, it's kind of hard not to lose him. I sigh, but as I turn back around, There stood Elijah. He was about the size of a 2-year-old and had a vocabulary and a reading level of an 8-year-old. There you are. You scared Mommy, I said, picking up my son. I'm sorry. Mommy, I wanted to play hide and seek. He giggled before wrapping his little arms around my neck. You gotta tell Mommy that. Though, I scold. I didn't know what happened to you. Oh. Leave him be. Mel. He's just a kid. Alex told me. Walking up to us and pinching Elijah's cheek. Elias giggled. Still. I didn't know what happened to my baby. You were scared too. I told him. Alex rolled his eyes. Whatever. I wasn't as scared as you were, he said, trying to play it off. Right. Your heart rate is lying, apparently. Right? I asked, looking up at Alex. He shrugged. I don't know what you're talking about, he said before taking Elijah out of my arms. I can hear your heartbeat. It's beating awful fast for someone who is supposedly calm. I tease. Alex stuck his tongue out at me and made a face. I don't get scared, he commented. Yeah. I don't get scared. Elias giggled. I rolled my eyes. Yeah. Right. That's as true as me saying my knee wasn't broken, I said, scoffing. Oh. By the way, how is your knee feeling better? Alex asked as he wrapped an arm around me. I nod. Yeah. I got my last physical therapy session tomorrow. It stopped hurting, but it is still a little stiff. But the doctor and Tristan both say it's going to be like that for maybe another few months before it's finally going to stop being stiff. But the healing process went well. Healed way faster than I thought it would. I took Elijah back into my arms. Okay. Pumpkin. Time for your breakfast, I say, carrying him out of Alex's office. Can Daddy eat breakfast with me? He asked. I shook my head no. Daddy already ate breakfast this morning before you got up. He's got a busy day today, I said, setting him in his high chair. Elias pouted. But what if I want to hang with Daddy today? He asked. I shrugged, setting fruit and pancakes in front of him. Maybe after his stuff you can, I say, and sit down. Hey. Mel, can you come in here for a second? Alex mind linked me. I sigh and roll my eyes. Okay, give me a second. Okay. Pumpkin. Continue eating. Daddy needs me for a second. I tell Elijah, who was eating a piece of banana. But I didn't hear Daddy call you, he said then, stuffing a strawberry in his mouth. Daddy used MindLink. Remember, we have that power, I ask. Elijah nodded. When will I get that power? He asked. When you hit puberty. So probably around 14 or 15 years old. I ruffle his hair before leaving the dining room and going to Alex's office. What's up? I asked as I entered. I just got a call about a girl who needs a new home. She's from a neighboring pack and no one seems to want her. The pack alpha is bringing her over. Are you up for the challenge? He asked. I nod. Sure. When is she coming? I ask. But before he answered, there was a knock on the front door. Seems like right now. He smiled and I smiled back. We both walked out of his office and walked into the living room to open the door. When Alex opened the door, there stood a little girl with a man. The little girl had dirty blonde hair, pale skin, freckles, and blue eyes and was no older than 9. Hey there. You must be Victoria, Alex said, kneeling down to meet the girl's eyes. The girl hid behind the man's legs. Oh, I'm sorry. Alex, she's incredibly shy, the man said when Alex straightened. Alex shook his head. Don't worry, George. I can see why she could be afraid of me. Alex was right. He was a very large man. Not saying he was heavy, but he was over 7 feet tall and 300 pounds of pure muscle. So anyone could have been afraid of him. George handed Alex Victoria's suitcase and moved out of the way. This is your new home now. Victoria, these nice people will take care of you, George told her, but she refused to let go of George's hand. Hey. Victoria, how are you? I asked, leaning down to look her in the eye like Alex did. She peeked out from behind George and moaned slightly. I'm okay. she whispered, her weak voice barely audible. I reached out to her and she grabbed my hand and walked over to me. Yeah. It's okay. We'll take care of you. I promise. I know it's scary coming to a new home. I tell her. She nods. Okay. I pick her up and carry her to the kitchen where Elijah was and George's, and Alex's conversation started to fade. Mommy, who's she? Elijah asked, pointing to Victoria. This is Victoria. She is going to live with us for a while. I tell him as I set her on the counter. You hungry? I ask Victoria. She nods. I rummage through the fridge until I find an applesauce cup in door of the fridge and I took it out. I went and grabbed a spoon from the drawer and opened the applesauce before handing it to Victoria. There you go, sweetie. She took it from me and started to eat it as Alex walked in. So, we have 2 kids now. Huh? He asked. I nodded. Seems like it. I sigh and wrap my arms around Alex's waist. I love you, I whisper to Alex. He looked down at me and smiled. I love you too. Mel, he said before leaning down and kissing me. Best day ever. The end.